Hi, I'm Sam Edith.
And I'm Amy Nelson. Welcome to What's Her Story with Sam and Amy.
This is a show about the world's most remarkable women, their professional and personal journeys.
Together, we'll hear from gold medalists, best-selling authors, and leaders of the world's most iconic brands.
Listen every Thursday or join the conversation anytime on Instagram at What's Her Story Podcast.
Kerri Walsh Jennings is the most decorated beach volleyball Olympian of all time, having won 3 gold and 2 bronze medals.
I just want to start for those people who are not as familiar with your story. You were the child of 2 athletes, which is quite rare. And so did you feel like it was your destiny to be an athlete?
Sam, I definitely think it's in my DNA. I think by nature, by nurture, by what God blessed me with, it's like in my veins is the competitive, element. And I fell in love with sports right away. And I think I fell in love with sports from the get-go because I saw my parents so in love with sports. So, the people I love the most in my life, who I trust the most in life, were like showing me that there's so much joy and purpose in pursuing these things. And I feel the exact same way when I compete now.
And how was it that you chose volleyball? Was there another sport first, or was it always volleyball?
No, I found volleyball when I was 10. So I feel like my whole life prior to that, I played every sport. And I played every sport, whatever was in season. That's just kind of how we grew up, like multi-sport athletes. My parents really believe in that for diversity and range. And so you don't get burnt out. So I have a big brother. We're 11 months apart. And so I did everything with him. I played basketball, I played baseball, soccer. I was always one of the boys in our little town in Scotts Valley. But when I found volleyball in the 5th grade, it was like head over heels. I'm so in love. This is new. This is different. This is all female, which I don't think I realized that I didn't realize I was a girl at that point. Just like a tomboy doing my thing. And then I found this sport that was like all my friends were playing. My mom was coaching, and it was just awesome.
And in terms of specialization, it feels like now people start specializing earlier and earlier. Yeah. Now that you have 3 kids, what's your philosophy on sports and specializing?
I'm just a big fan of trying everything, and I'm not a fan of specializing. I think at a certain point, going into college or pros, you specialize. But have you guys read the book Range? That kind of
No, should we?
compares. Yes, you should. So, especially on this topic, but it compares Roger Federer basically to Tiger Woods. And Tiger Woods is like the anomaly of all anomalies, right? From 3 years old on, he only played golf, but he is very rare. There's only one of him. But Federer played all these other sports. And every sport that he did just helped him develop more range within his tennis, within his business life. And so they just say whether you play sport, sports as a pro or not, the range you develop by playing multiple sports, by trying multiple things, is just priceless. And I've experienced that. I believe that. So with our kids, they play whatever's in season. They're not, I just told both boys the other day, I'm like, you guys know you don't have to play sports, right? And they both looked at me like I was crazy, because they want to win. And when they don't win, they take it on themselves, and I don't want them to have that baggage either. They're, 11 and 12 right now. So anyhow, whatever's in season. And I just want them to try a lot of new things. My parents planted a lot of seeds in my head growing up. I lived in the Bay Area. I played every sport. I watched them play sports. They took me to Stanford. They took me to Santa Clara. I went to museums. I watched the pros play. And because of that, I just kind of found my path. Yeah,
So,
sorry.
Kerri, your mother was a college volleyball champion at a time when a lot of colleges still didn't even have women's sports.
Yeah.
How did she become an athlete?
She was born into it. Her like my Nana, her mother, bottom, like hands down, the most competitive human I've ever experienced in my life. She passed away when I was 18. She was my hero. Still is. She's still very present. But she was gnarly. And then my grandfather, they called him Grandpa Big M. His name is Marty. He's in the Santa Clara Hall of Fame. He had a nickname. He was called the Splendid Splinter. He played in the Rose Bowl football. He was a track star. So it's just, I was telling Sam, it's just in our DNA. And my mother
Yeah.
is like her mother, the fiercest, like gnarliest warrior angel you've ever met in your life. Like she's had 8 children. 3 of them were her first sister. Like she played two sports in college. She played everything when she was pregnant.
Hold
Just
on.
she's
We need to
incredible.
stop you right there. We need to stop you. Did you
Yeah.
just say two of them were for her sister?
Three.
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 Three
She
of them
carried
were for her
triplets.
sister. What does that mean?
So she was surrogate. So she is one of eight children, six girls, two boys. They kept having kids until they finally got their boy. And he came at number six and then number seven. But my mom, she loved having babies. Like she had five of us. I have one brother up in heaven. But right before my mom, I think my mom was like 37, and she's like, "Look, Michelle, her sister, like the time is now." They tried IVF, they tried everything for so long. And my mom's like, "I'm meant to do this. I would love this." So they put in, I think, six eggs. They said likely none of them will survive, and all three of them did. And now they're turning 30 on May 8th.
Oh, my,
Yeah.
That is the
wild.
Two
ultimate
boys, two girls.
sacrifice. Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
three kids coming out of you for your
She was
sister.
so
That's
big. She
incredible.
was so
That's
big
crazy.
that her tummy, like her skin was like splitting. She was so big.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I
Oh
mean,
my
that was probably TMI, but
goodness.
she was giant. She was pissed off because she finally had to have a cesarean after, so many kids. She's like, I don't want to.
Oh,
But,
wow.
Yeah.
but
So that's my
something you
mom.
said about your mom.
She's gnarly.
Well, something you said about her stuck with me. You said she was like a warrior angel.
Yeah.
Like, both of those. Would people describe you like that?
Ah, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not as tough at all. Like my mom is a warrior in everything she does. I might be a warrior on the court. And well, maybe. I mean, I have elements of that. Yeah, I aspire, Amy. I aspire to be like my mom.
Very cool.
So you
Yeah.
chose an athlete to marry. It almost seems like it
Yeah.
would have been sacrilegious for you to marry out of the athlete kingdom after all of these generations. Like you couldn't ruin the lineage.
Yeah. How
Did you
funny.
feel
Well, we're
that
not
way?
breeding, I promise you. No, no. I just my heart loves who I love, and I fell in love with Casey like the first week of dating him. I felt like he was family. And no, I'm just like his biggest fan. I think he's so incredible. But I don't think it would have worked with anyone else because we had the same job. Like we had our first two kids. We traveled the world as a traveling circus with all four of us, and then my sister as our nanny. Like my life is so full, and he's just been such an amazing champion with me. Like it just doesn't work without him. It takes a man, to like I'm a lot. So in many different ways. So I'm just so grateful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say that? When you say it takes a man, describe that.
Well, I take up a lot of space, and I feel like you have to be very secure in who you are. I run fast. I have big dreams. I don't like waiting. I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it. But I also want to, have a simple life and have my children and be very closely connected to all of that. And so I think kind of the athlete in both of us allows us to be utility players. It allows us to be nimble together. But, I think I mean, it just takes it takes a strong human being to be so supportive. And not that he takes a back seat, but he lifts me up, and he doesn't diminish himself as he lifts me up. And I think that's a really strong soul to be able to do that.
What was the last thing you thought about?
Casey and I? Oh, that's a good question. There's been quite a few lately. Um, oh my gosh.
I sometimes say I'm having like an ongoing fight with my husband, just like a continuous.
Because you have like so much chaos in your house. You guys are like the release for each other. I was in marriage counseling, and I am pretty adverse to confrontation. And I'm one of those ones who like swallows my feelings. I can handle it until I can't. And so our therapist, Mike Gervais, who's an incredible performance psychologist, he's like, Kerri, you cannot be afraid to engage. You cannot be afraid of conflict because there's deep intimacy there. And that, like, so Amy, you're just like having deep intimacy with your husband right now.
Oh my God.
Don't live in that space forever, but if there's clarity when you fight and argue. I honestly can't remember what we fight about. I think I have no idea. Some silly, stupid stuff that we don't need to fight about.
So you went to Stanford, and then how did your career evolve from there?
Oh, well, Stanford was like my first big dream come true. I grew up 20 minutes away and it was just like the best place ever for me. After Stanford, I played in my first Olympics. So I was a senior at Stanford and I left for 2 quarters to compete in my first Olympics in 2000. And then after that Olympics, my whole world changed because I left indoor and I went to beach volleyball. And like on day one, not only was I trying out with Misty May, now Misty May trainer, who is my Michael Jordan, my idol. That was the start of 10 years plus of playing with her. But on day one, I also happened to meet Casey because we trained against him when I was trying out with Misty. And so, I was so like almost having a panic attack, like playing with my childhood idol, trying out for what could change my life. And Casey was on the other side of the net, didn't like pay one lick of attention to him until the last ball of the match. He tried to like, he almost took my face off because he went to go finish the game. And then we kind of had a moment of like, oh. And then a couple weeks later, we just started hanging out. So after Stanford, everything happened very fast and it was awesome.
Did you return to school after that?
I did. I did. Yeah. So I took 2 quarters off and then I returned in the fall of 2001.
What was it like to go back?
Awesome. Oh my gosh. I thought like I felt smart for the first time. Like I always just fancied myself a jock and an athlete. Like I'm like, I know why I'm here at Stanford. It's not because I'm the smartest. It's because I can play volleyball and I'm not too dumb. You know, and I don't mean to diminish anyone. Like everyone there is so gnarly. I just really diminished myself and I was so insecure. And so I think it took me being away and like kind of living a more worldly life to go back there being like, oh, I have thoughts of my own and no one's judging me. Everyone is just trying to figure stuff out. So my last 2 quarters there were my favorite. Um, and that just makes me want to have my kids take a leap year so they can like go experience life, because it's crazy what a little perspective can do.
Although it really happened organically for you. It wasn't forced. It wasn't like someone said to
Totally.
you, okay, you
Yeah.
need to take a gap year now, Gary. It was just all organic. And then you returned with not only the love of your life, but you also returned with your volleyball partner for years.
Oh, no,
How,
it
what
was
was
it
that
was
relation?
incredible.
What was your relationship with Misty like? Because I feel like there's been, a lot of talk about it. It's so unusual and it's just so exciting.
I just love her so much. Like with all my heart, I adore her. And Misty and I were so similar in so many ways as far as our values and our discipline and how we show up. But our expressions of all these things are so different. So you think we're like night and day. And I think that's why we fit. Um, but she's like my sister. I just did an appearance with her in Virginia, and it was so fun to be on stage with her, just rehashing our magic because I think it took us a while. Like we were just never satisfied. We were always working so hard and having so much fun in the pursuit because we literally believed we could be so dominant. And it wasn't like an arrogant thing. It was just like, we have something very special here. Let's like push this to the max. And that really filled us up. But when you're in it, you don't really appreciate the magic. And then now that, it's been almost 10 years since I played with her, which is shocking to me. To rehash the magic and the love, it's incredible. But our relationship, Sam, was especially after when Misty retired, I kept playing. And I think, feelings get hurt and interviews get said and things are out of context. And I hurt Misty's feelings a couple of times, totally unintentionally. Um, and I think there was a sensitivity there that I just didn't have the awareness to acknowledge. You know what I'm saying? And so we've been through heaven and hell together. And for a couple of years after we separated, we weren't really friends. I loved her from a distance, but I couldn't really kind of connect with her in the way we used to, which of course that relationship is going to change. But we grew back to each other. And now we have rekindled that love and that friendship. And I adore her. She's so special. Like everything you see of Misty is so true. And she's just such a great human being.
What was it, do you think, that brought you back together? It's hard to find love again, whether it's
Yeah.
friendships or lovers. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Well, I don't want to take all the credit, but I'm very persistent. And, like it's like with my marriage. Like I had a moment with my husband, after two Olympics, where he's like, I cannot do this anymore. And like I understood his point of view, but I'm like, but no, you're wrong. Like we're meant for each other and you just lost yourself. And with Misty, I'm like, no, you just forget that you love me and you forget that we're special. So I'm not going away. Of course I would go away if they were like, no, seriously. But like I'm pretty empathetic. I can feel people and their vibrations, and I could put myself in their shoes really easily. And so I feel like I was persistent, and then I gave space, and then I just continued to love. And every once in a while, I would broach the topic, like, "Hey, Miss, I'm still here. Like, you want to connect?"
Aw.
Yeah.
How
There's,
did you,
there's one
how,
other thing.
oh, sorry, Aim, go
Can I,
ahead.
can I, can I just, one other thing from something you said about your partnership with Misty, which sticks with me for a reason, is you said you both just knew you were dominant. You knew you had something special.
Yeah.
A lot of girls and women do not allow themselves to feel that,
Yeah.
even if they know it to be true.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think you were able to?
I think because we were together, like we were like a force together. I feel like if you try to like tell yourself that alone, it's harder to believe. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
I can rule the world and dominate, and it's like when you're together, you're like building something together, and it's more of like a vision outside of yourself, even though you're required to bring all of yourself. I don't know really how to like speak to this articulately, but I just know that being with Misty was so empowering, and it literally was not about anyone else or anything else. It was about us. And so for me as an
Hmm.
adult now, and as someone who wants to continue to joyfully dominate and kick ass no matter what I'm doing, I want my kids to do this as well. I have to make it only about me. I literally, like my lead up to Tokyo and even Rio to a certain extent, the last two Olympics, like I had too much focus outside of myself, and that diminishes me. Like I revere everyone, I have so much respect, but if I give too much credit or if I spend too much time focusing on what's outside of me, then I can't self-source the confidence that's required to say I can do this again and again and again, and I can dominate. You know what I'm saying? I think that focus has to be very internal.
When you were going through it and you were building this together, how did you and Misty resolve conflict?
There really wasn't a lot of conflict because we won so much. But I feel like, our so winning covers all sorts of sins, which is one thing, but it's so true. But I'm like I'm in life for the depth of it. And so almost my soul craves like hard moments because then like we talked about intimacy, Amy, right? When you're conflicting, you get depth. But Misty and I, our second year together, Misty's mom passed away, and then we went on the road and tried to take on the world together, and we're both like early 20s at the time, figuring out the game, figuring out each other, and that life happening like made us connect so deeply, and it was such a gift. Like it really was. And I feel like that set the tone because she was very vulnerable with me, and she's not a vulnerable human being at all. She's very strong and she's very internal. And that allowed me to be there for her. And so I think we got comfortable in that situation a little bit, which was, again, such a gift. And then when things came up over the years, it was never internal. Like it was always people being like, "Oh, Miss, you should dump Kerri. She's overrated," or "Kerri, like go try someone else." Like, and it was so dumb to me. But sometimes people are relentless, and if you're having weak moments, you're like, "Oh, well, maybe the grass is greener." So a couple times, one time in particular, there was a lot of that going on, and at some point, it was just like enough of this talk. Like, are we going to stay together or break up? And we had this moment of reckoning where we're like, no, that's silly. Like we're gonna stick this out. And this was after our first gold, where people just want you to separate, and people get a kick out of doing that to people. And then we were weak, and we kind of let someone come in between. But any other conflict between us was so minimal, and we had so much
Hmm.
trust. And we were talking the other day at our appearance, and it's like we were so individually so driven. I never worried about Misty. Like I knew she was busting her butt, and she knew I was busting my butt, and then we'd come together, travel the world, and just show up and play freely. And so the moments of frustration within that was very, very minor.
So when you then, when Misty retired,
Yeah.
how did that impact you? Were you afraid of what would happen next?
No, I really wasn't. Misty retired and then unretired and then retired. So I was just so grateful that I had her for 2 more years after that initial retirement. Like that was a dream come true because she retired in, I want to say like 2011, early on. And I called her, I was like, "Miss, are you sure? Because I want to go for the next Olympics. I need to find a partner." She's like, "Yes, I'm done." So I got a new partner. And then she called me a couple months later being like, "We need to talk." I was like, oh
Oh
my gosh.
gosh.
And so, like, that was one of the hardest things I've ever experienced because I had to call my dear friend Nicole Branna and being like, Nicole, I have new information. Things have changed. Like, we need to talk. And I remember sitting down. We were at a coffee shop in Manhattan Beach, like grabbing her hand, being like, Nicole, I'm about to break your heart. And it was like so gnarly, you know. And I still gives me chills, still hurts my heart. And Nicole has forgiven me, but you know that changes her life. That changes everything. And so anyhow, so when Misty retired the second time, like we knew she was done. She was so done, you know, mentally, physically, spiritually. Like she earned the right to go out on top and be done and start her family. And so I was very, very prepared for it. Very, you know, I was so sad. Like after we won in London, I literally would not let go of her hand. Like every interview, I'm like, you are here. Like you're not allowed to leave me. So, you know, you do the circuit after you win and it's like crazy. Like I wouldn't let go of her because I just knew it was going to be different the moment I let go of her hand. And it was. Um, but yeah, she's awesome. That's why I'm so glad she's back. You know, that love, it's hard when you can't express it and be with your people.
Talk to us about training while you were pregnant for that last gold
Mhm.
medal.
Yeah. Well, so I had my boys.
Well,
Yeah.
did you know you were pregnant with Scout?
Yes. Well, no. Well, so the Olympics are always in August, right? End of July, August. There's always a tournament like a month before the Olympics, and it's in Stade, Switzerland, which is if you guys haven't been, like you need to go. It's my favorite town in the whole wide world, outside of Los Gatos, California. But
I
it's
love
just
Los Gatos
remarkable,
too.
isn't it special?
Oh, I
Um,
love it. Yeah.
yeah, it's literally so. But Stade is kind of like that vibe, but there's like cobblestone streets in the Alps and like Swiss chalets, so it's like next level. But Casey and I decided to give it a try, you know, because like my first pregnancies were very easy. I had maybe one day of you know, sickness the whole two pregnancies. Like I was one of those jerks. I loved every moment of it. Like it's just one of those things. And so the doctors always say, you know, base your next pregnancy on what you experienced before. So I wasn't worried at all. So we tried in Stade, we conceived in Stade, and then a month later, you know, is the Olympics. So I was very, very, very early. Like I missed my period, I think very early in the games. And then there was a point of reckoning. It was after a couple matches at the Olympics. And I remember taking an ice bath after a game. It's like midnight, like we're celebrating, we won. My husband's ordering room service with our two boys who were, I think, 2 and 3 at the time. And I was like doing the math and I was like, oh my God, I think I'm pregnant. And I call out to my husband in the other room. I was like, hey, babe, I'm like, I'm late. I think I'm pregnant. And he's like, that's how we do it. And then we just carried on. It was like, and then I told Misty the next day, and she's like, "Am I supposed to be surprised?" And with like I referenced earlier, Sam, that I hurt Misty's heart a couple times, like unknowingly, and that was one of the times. You know, it's like because I didn't involve her that we tried to get pregnant in Stade, you know, and then to tell her, and she hadn't had children yet, and you know, and I don't want to be speaking out of turn with Misty. Like these are my experiences. So she has her side of everything, of course. But it hurts me that I hurt Misty, you know, by being just casual about my stuff, you know. So I've
Mhm.
definitely learned there. Because it's a very nuanced relationship, obviously, and being a woman and getting pregnant and doing the dance and you know, it's like your whole life you don't want to get pregnant, and then when you do, you want it so badly, you know, and
Did
um,
you ever
yeah.
did you ever think you wouldn't be able to compete while having babies? I mean, you had three.
No,
Welcome to
no,
me.
clearly not. Clearly not. Well, and I don't know, like my mom just showed me. Like I swear she was pregnant with the triplets in Hawaii, 6 month pregnant, huge, body surfing. You know, she would play softball and slide, you know, like very competitive softball, slide with a huge belly. Like it's just you know, I felt with training when I was pregnant, I felt like a warrior. You know, I wasn't training to win gold. I was just training to like reinforce myself for my baby and to be empowered. And it was definitely a different perspective in my body. And I appreciate my body so much. You know, I'm way less critical, even though these days I'm very critical. I need to get over it. But I trained like I wanted to be the healthiest human for my child. And I wanted, and I that, and then I also wanted to have my baby take a couple weeks off to heal after, and then go. And doing all that when I was pregnant really, it allowed me to do all of that. And it's sanity. Like if I'm not moving, I'm not a happy person.
So, your post Missy retiring for the second and final time, what happens to your career?
It kept going. And it's still going. I don't know if I'm retired or not. I gave myself till July to figure it out. I'm like going crazy not knowing. So so this is another where hurt Misty. So after Misty and I won gold, we hugged, we played the Americans in the finals, and it was April Ross and Jennifer Kessy. And we gave our hugs. And when I was hugging April, I said, April, congratulations. Now let's go win gold in Rio, which was 4 years away, the next Olympics. And I honestly, I have no idea where that came from. It was like I hadn't even thought about anything, consciously. But it came out and I'm like, yeah, that's about right. Like that feels right. And then I said it and it was done. And then I went and I was so in love with Misty and like it was just here and gone. And then April and I partnered up and we got bronze in Rio and it was incredible. It was so fun with April, and we were so close to just doing it. We were the best team I believe in the world. And we had a bad night in the semis. I had a tough night in the semis and we played for bronze and that bronze was incredible. Like a huge, huge mental accomplishment as an athlete who prides herself on always getting up when she gets knocked down. You got to be careful what you wish for because, because I was able to put my character to test that night with April.
How do you think about failure?
After we lost in Rio, like I lost myself. Like I didn't understand that I had identified myself as a winner, and if I'm not winning, I'm a loser. Like I carried a lot of shame for many years after that. And I'm still working through that, how to process it, but now I look at everything as a stepping stone. I learn from experience, and so failure is just an experience that's meant to build you in the various ways you need to learn and grow. And now I see my weaknesses, I see my failures, I see what I lack as untapped potential, and the failure
But
is there to
Kerri,
highlight
you
what I have to
did
work on.
in that failure though. The failure we're talking about is a bronze medal, correct?
Yeah, but it was so gnarly, Sam. I don't even know what to tell you. Like it ruined me. And it's not like I don't mind losing. Like I mean, of course I mind losing, but it's like the way you lose. And that night, like I kept fighting. I kept trying to crack the egg. I stuck with April. Like I just didn't play well. And so I don't like that, obviously. It was really hard for me to look in April's eyes after that. It was really hard to look at my family's eyes and my coach and be like, I'm so sorry, you guys. And I felt like I made myself on an island when it really is a team game. We didn't play great that
Mhm.
night as a team, and I just focused on
Right.
myself and I built a wall of shame. But, that also is kind of like my kryptonite or my answer to having it not happen again is to like become superwoman. Right. And that's really, I mean, perfection is not even possible. But if I take ownership of everything, then I can at least fix it. If I like point my finger, or if, what I'm saying? Like I need to take ownership so that I can just
Yeah.
address these things.
How did you and April discuss it after that? I mean, how did the two of you reconcile your relationship when you kind of blamed yourself for everything and were so full of shame?
I mean, that night was really hard. We kind of had our team meeting after, and I can't remember what was said. We're kind of numb, and then like we played 23 hours later at like 11 p.m., right? Or 10 p.m. the next day in Rio. And so all day, like I slept maybe an hour that whole time. I'm assuming April did the same. We were just kind of handling it in our own way. I had private conference, like meeting with my coach. And by the time we came together to get ready for the match, my coach is like, "You guys, like it's done. Like whatever you do, just stick together. I don't care if you're up, stick together, or if you're down, stick together. Just that's my only request, because then you have a chance, right?" And then prior to that, before like I kind of got ready for the day, I was just kind of wallowing, and I literally was lost. And my husband's like, babe, you need to stop. Like this is ridiculous. Like you're an athlete, you have earned the right to fight for another day. Like go and win this shit. You're an American. Like this is the American spirit that you love so much. Get out there. You're so supported. And that really helped me kind of turn the corner, and then hearing my coach say just stick together. Because there was the bronze medal match started how the semifinal finished. It started as a nightmare for the first game and a half. And then there was one moment where April, like I was just kind of an automaton, just like trying to figure it out. And I didn't realize I wasn't like deeply connecting with April. And at one point she grabbed my arm. She's like, Kerri. I'm like, yeah. She's like, Kerri. And she like made eye contact. And that was just like, okay. And then literally a point or two
Wow.
later, like there was a gnarly point, like we outlasted, we won, and that changed the whole game. So
It's amazing.
yeah, and then after that,
Wow.
I love April. We had a kind of a falling out after the Olympics the next year, just mostly because like domestic volleyball politics. But it's like politics these days. You can't take it personally, and we agree to disagree, and we parted ways. And there's no hard feelings. I think she's wonderful, and she won gold in Tokyo. I'm so happy for her. So all ended as it should.
What's going to determine it's almost like the way you talk about deciding whether to retire. It's like some crystal ball is just going to manifest itself and tell you, but you're in the driver's seat of that decision, right?
I mean, yes and no, Sam. I opened my mouth the other day about who I would play with if I came back, and and this person is deeply private, and so I can't go there right now, and it's a very mutual decision. So I'm being kind of cryptic, but for important reasons. But like 3 months ago, no, beginning of this year, I was like, I literally don't know. I had two things that happened with my children and I was like, maybe I can't do this. I had one thing where I was gone in the lead up to Tokyo for many weeks. And my kids came over to visit me, and my daughter was like, "Hey, Mama, can I talk to you about something?" I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "On the day that you left for your long trip, we took a picture. And in the picture, I was crying because you were leaving, and you were smiling because you were leaving." And I was like, "Oh my God." Like that, it was the gnarliest thing ever. She's looking at me right now, and it like crushed me. And I was so grateful that she had the awareness to talk to me about that, because that could traumatize a child, thinking your
That's
mom is so
so
happy to
deep.
be leaving.
It's
So
incredible.
That
oh
is
my, I have chills.
crazy.
Like it rocked me to my core, and we had a great conversation, and so that's one thing, like heavy, heavy, deep stuff. And then there was another conversation. It was my son Joey wrote me a birthday card, and he it was a really funny card, and he wrote it, and he's like, Mom, I'm 12 years old, and some of the hardest times in my life have been when you were away. And then he wrote this other stuff, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh my hell, like this
oh
is
my
not
God.
right. And they're so honest, like like what a gift. And so I was like, I can't do this, but I have this calling in my heart. What do I do with these two things? And so in the meantime, we've had many conversations, and now the solution that we came up with is that we do this together. So we travel together.
Mm.
So I need to get an airline sponsorship, an Airbnb partnership, and then the whole crew can go together. And that's the dream. And that was always the dream, for us to travel as a family, as a traveling circus, and realize our dreams. And so if my partner who I want to play with, if she's in, then it's on. But we gave ourselves till July to figure it out. And so I told her I'm in, and now I'm just waiting.
So what do you do? We know that you don't just sit around and wait. You're probably writing her love letters every
Oh,
day.
I'm dying. No, I'm like, I have so much restraint right now. Well, I blew it last week by doing a podcast. I was like, because I'm so casual, like I have no secrets. And so I learned a definite boundary in this new partnership potential. But she's my friend. I love her. She'll forgive me. But I'm working on my company, 1440, and I'm really trying to give back to the game. I really want to leave the sport in such a better position. And right now, at the pro level, it's having a tough time. But the juniors are incredible, and the collegiate level is incredible. So there's a lot of great things going there. I'm training, but I'm just not playing volleyball. But I will soon. I live in Tahoe now, and so the snow just melted like a week ago. So things are changing, but I just want to do it my way. Like I want to finish how I started, and I started like so joyful and so curious, and just like I don't think I was self-absorbed, but I just loved the personal development part of it, and I didn't care about anyone else. I wanted to have fun with people but worry about me, and that's how I want to finish.
I love that.
Kerri, I have a kind of a selfish question for you, which is, I was a junior athlete my whole childhood, and then I went to college and played varsity tennis. And one of the hardest things in my life was to lose my identity. Like after I stopped playing tennis, I truly didn't know who I was because
Yeah.
everyone in the world knew me as a tennis player. That was my entire identity.
Yeah.
And so regaining my identity and figuring out who I was without my sport was really difficult for me.
Yeah.
How do you think about that?
I feel like I've lived that a couple times, like with each pregnancy, and you bow out, you're like, oh, well, they don't even care. Like you're already gone. So you kind of realize where you fit in the picture of the world, that you're just, like something very special, but so minor, and time goes. So that's really helped me kind of get some perspective. But also, like I decided I was going to take this year off, and hopefully I come back. If I don't, I don't. But um, what I've my purpose in life hasn't changed. Like I'm here to literally develop myself into the best me I can be. Volleyball is my vehicle my whole life, and that will transition to something else after this. But above the self development and becoming the best me, like I want to be a light in this world, and I don't need volleyball for
Mm-hmm.
that. And so I mean, I'm 43 now, I'm almost 44. Like I've lived a life, a lot of heartache, a lot of like dreams come true. And I will not settle for a life that does not involve being inspired, inspiring, staying fit, inspiring, empowering. I can't do that. And it's not, and it's hard. It's so easy an athlete, like you have 3 trainings a day and you're really fit and you feel like you played the part. And I think to have a different kind of, I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be hard for me when I do finally retire. So I haven't really lived it yet, Sam, to the fullest extent. I know I will grieve it. I know I will be devastated, but I also know my life keeps unfolding in a way that the next logical thing that's rad keeps showing up. And so I'm just expecting that to happen. And I'm a worker, like I'm a dreamer, and I'm very good at I'm just so blessed that I have amazing people around me. And I'm not afraid to say, "Hey, let's try something. Let's do something." So I'm not really worried. But I don't know. I'll probably call you guys crying. I'm a poop show. I don't know who I am. Who am I? you know, it could happen.
How do you parent? Because I think sometimes when you're such a doer and you're such a go-getter, and you've 3 different kids with 3 totally different personalities that might or might not mirror your drive, how have
Mhm.
you come to, reconcile that with your own parenting style?
Fundamentally, I'm so in love with my children. So love is just the foundation. It's probably obnoxious. Like I probably let them get away with too much stuff because I came from an upbringing of so much, like literally unconditional love, but it was very tough love. And not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
soft nurturing love in its own way, but it wasn't that. And I feel like my mom and my dad were preparing me to be who I am. And so, but I think on the flip side of that, I'm parenting slightly different in the expression of my love. But I feel like, you guys, the way I am as a human, like I swear, I feel like I've effed up in every way. I've succeeded in so many ways. I've been an a-hole. I've been an angel. I've been everything and then some. So when my children are being who they are and they're doing great, or they're having challenges, or they're failing or triumphing, like I've been there largely. So for me, it's just like, I just want to remind them that they're okay, and just, if they do something wrong, how did that feel? Did that make you feel bad inside? Okay, don't do it again. Kind of like as simple
Mm-hmm.
as that, because I feel like if they can have that self-awareness where they can kind of love themselves as they mess up, and they know nothing is the end all be all, no failure is too big, like you always have to carry your head high because it's just a rep at something, and so I feel like I don't know if that's a parenting style, but that's certainly, I'm kind of raising my kids as really young high performers with a lot of focus on self-love.
I
I love that.
love that. That's beautiful. I love it.
And my husband is
Thank you.
gnarly and he's incredible. And the way his expression of that, I think it balances us out. He's like from Vegas, born and raised. Like he's from Vegas, and that should tell you a lot about my husband. Like we're so different. Like our whole worldviews are so. I grew up in a bubble, and he grew up in Vegas. So our kids get like the Connie Pollyanna, that side of life, and they get the Vegas gritty streets of life, and it's a really powerful combo. My husband is so, he's so emotional, he's so like tuned in, and he's very empathetic as well. So I think we just meet our kids where they're at a lot, with high
Oh,
expectations and with a lot of love for sure.
that's wonderful. All
Amazing.
right, go ahead, Aim.
Okay. What book are you reading?
Oh my gosh, I just started it. It's Dan Millman. It's the author who wrote Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and it's another one of
Mm.
his books. I think it's like his whole life, not just his college life. Can't remember the name.
Who
But if I could
leaves you
recommend any book in the
starstruck?
whole wide world, sorry, real quick, if I can recommend one book in the whole wide world to anyone, it would be As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. It's my favorite book.
As a man. And what was the earlier book you recommended?
Well, I was reading
Range.
Dan.
It's called Range.
Oh, Range. Yeah.
Range.
And I don't know the
Yeah.
author.
Range.
That's so good.
Okay. All right. Okay.
What is your morning routine?
Oof. Gosh, I've been traveling so much lately. Can I give you my ideal?
Yeah.
Okay, my ideal morning routine starts at night, so I can wake up early. So an ideal would have me like in bed by 9:45. Never happens. Waking up at 4:30, making my hot water with lemon and honey, journaling, meditating, breathing. At 6 o'clock, 2 days a week, I have a workout with my trainer on Zoom. And then my kids wake up at 7, and then we get going on the day. So, but I found that if I wake up an hour to an hour and a half before my babes, before I have any obligations, my day feels like I'm on vacation, even if it's the craziest, hairiest day. So
I
I'm a
call
big
that the
fan of that.
magic hour, by the way. I call it the magic hour when
Yeah,
you wake up 1 hour before your earliest riser. It's so important for moms. Yeah.
it's so important. Yeah, because then you're not playing catch up.
Totally.
You're like ahead of the game. Yeah.
Yep. And also, like, you're too tired to enjoy a magic hour at night. Like, let's be
Yes.
honest, that's not
No.
happening.
Oh, nothing should happen at
There's
night.
no magic
Nothing.
happening at night for a parent. You're like,
It's so sad. I know. My husband and I are at different schedules. I'm like, God, I just know.
Yeah.
We gotta get creative here with our time.
aim, it's yours.
It's mine. Okay. Oh, who leaves you starstruck?
Oh. I mean, I'm just a weirdo. My heart races fast with any cute person or kind person or celebrity. I don't know if it's starstruck or not. I'm just kind of an anxious human. I don't know. Amy? I feel like everybody and nobody. Does that make sense?
But like if you went
It
out to
does.
dinner tomorrow night, and I'm not going to let you off the hook. If you went out to dinner tomorrow night and there was one celebrity at the restaurant and you were like, oh my God, holy shit, guess who I just saw? Who would that person be?
I mean, all of them are fun to see and look at. I would like pee my pants if I had to talk to any of them. I have this, I have this documentary series that I want to shoot, which is like sitting down with high performers who are doing the juggle of life, like long sustained excellent careers with the family, like some divorce, some don't, some retire, some don't. And my thought of interviewing these people gives me a heart attack. And my list is like the highest people ever.
Who's
You
on the
know,
list?
You?
you want to hear the list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Tony Robbins, Michael Phelps, Abby Wambach, Laird and Gabby. I have Kevin Costner. I want Morgan Freeman, Condoleezza Rice. Like these people.
Always rice would be good.
Yeah.
Um, Carrie, do you realize that you are a celebrity?
No,
Like one of these very high.
no, I don't. My husband gets so pissed off. He's like, babe, it's ridiculous. Stop it. You're not that dumb. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm just, no. But I need to because it's like I did that podcast that I like spilled the beans and NBC Olympics picked it up and now I like got my friend, she's all mad at me and I need to be aware of these things.
Carrie,
But
can
no,
you
it just
spill the
doesn't
beans about
register
something on our podcast, please?
anymore. Okay, let me think of
You
something that
kind
won't
of
piss
saved
somebody
it
else
for
off.
us. I can't believe it. You kind of saved that for us. Okay.
Well, I just gave you like my celebrity list of people that I'm gonna hopefully land for conversations. That's pretty fun.
That's true. Um, so our final question, if you were not an Olympic gold medal athlete, who would you be?
Yeah. I would just be me.
Okay, I'm going to put it
Same. I
differently.
think
If you were not a volleyball
what would I
player,
do?
what career would you have?
Okay, I would not I would not be in business. No, I'm not tough enough. I'm really not. Like
Come
it's just
on.
I don't know how you guys do it. Like I just I have a role in business, but I'm not a CEO. I'm not like the day to day. I'm not that. I would have to compete in some way, like period. And I don't know what that looks like because volleyball's just been my whole life. But I just have this like I'm like a cage. Like I haven't really competed in a year, and I'm like a caged lion. Like I'm literally like Let me at it. I'm going crazy.
Wait, can I just say, I just have to say something though, because this is like a secret about business that I didn't really know until I
Mm.
started my own company. Like no one ever tells you in the whole world,
Yeah.
is that I'm very competitive and I don't love business in a lot of ways, but I'm very good at a few specific things. And then I just partner with people that are good
Yeah.
at all the other stuff. And you
Huge.
do not, even if you're a founder or a CEO, you do not have to be good at like 95% of the things. If you're good at like the 5% of the magic that counts,
Yeah.
like that's it. So I believe you would be like a world-class entrepreneur starting your own company. So I'm just
Well,
saying.
that's amazing. Well, my
Putting it out
attitude is
there.
obviously dog poop. I need to work on my attitude, which is unexcusable. It overwhelms me. Like I have my company P1440. Like I am so honored and
Yeah.
proud, and we are on a mission.
What
I am
is it,
not
by the
built for
way?
the
We
day.
didn't ask you about it. What is it? And this is our final question. What is the company?
So it's Platform 1440. It was, we serve the volleyball community, juniors. Sorry, we have live events and we're digital programming as well. But 1440, there are only 1,440 minutes in the day. I learned that's in marriage counseling. And I learned that I was wasting so many minutes in my day. And so we wanted to create a property that served the game, but that brought in universal wellness and awareness, themes. And time is precious, time is sacred. And if we can inspire you, Sam, you, Amy, to live in the moment, all of us know on this call that the moment is where our point of attraction is, our point of power is, where truth lies, love lies, our future is created right now. And so 1440, we have a tour for juniors. We're actually giving away $110,000 in prize money, scholarship money to our juniors athletes. Never been done before. So basically, we're subsidizing their journey to get a college scholarships. It's really powerful.
Amazing.
Um, and we're kind of in transition now, figuring out our next move because we really want to, events are very finite. So we want to, scale and do that on the digital side. But like my head is like, I'm only magic in person. I don't translate this way, so I don't know how to give the wisdom and all that stuff digitally
That's not
yet.
true. Carrie, you're excellent this way. You've been one of our favorite guests. You are awesome
I
at
mean, this is
this.
amazing.
Oh,
So don't think
that's
that
really
you
nice.
have magic in you. Like I want to go run a marathon now and I don't run. I mean, seriously, you are a very motivating, inspiring person.
Well, that's very nice. Thank you. I'll have to accept that
Yeah,
because I'm
exactly.
trying
Just
to say
accept it.
compliments. Well, thank
Don't
you.
have that dog poop attitude anymore. Now, Carrie,
That's
will
terrible.
you smile? Because we are going to have one really quick photo.
Okay. Cheese.
Okay, awesome.
I
Thank
like
you
you guys
so much,
together.
Carrie. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Sam, well, we've had multiple Olympic athletes on the show. I don't think we've ever had a guest like Kerri.
She's amazing. And I just find her spirit and her drive and the combination. I mean, she describes her grandmother and her mother as angel warriors, which is somehow how I would describe her as well.
I completely agree. The stories she was telling about her grandmother and her mother were amazing. And Carrie's the type of person that I wish we were friends with, which is all of our guests, but also to be a fly on the wall in the way that she lives in the world because she loves, she has empathy, right? Like she leads with these things. And that's really powerful. And there aren't a lot of leaders that do that.
The one thing I wish we'd asked her, Aim, is what it's like to be 6'3" in this world as a woman. I mean, I'm 5'2", you're 5'4".
I'm 5'5" or 5'6". I mean,
I'm
who knows,
sorry,
Sam?
Amy. You come across as even taller than that. But yeah, so she's almost a foot taller than both of us.
Yeah.
And I wonder what it's like to be a woman of that height in this world. And I wish I'd asked her. Next time we interview her, I'm going to ask her that. But in the meantime, I really did enjoy her answer about parenting because
Mhm.
I think that just her mentality, and I remember her saying years ago something to the effect of, it's not over until the ball hits the ground. Like, even when it's like 1 millimeter from the ground, it's still not over. And I think that's her
Mhm.
philosophy about life.
That is amazing. That is so amazing. Sam, one thing that's really interesting, and perhaps one of the reasons that I think Carrie's interview was so different, is that we do not ever hear women talk about business relationships or friendships that 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 don't go the way of the angels, right? Or that break up or that end and then finding our way back to each other. Like that is messy, that is complicated. And women, I feel like women aren't allowed to talk about that. And Carrie just owned it in this really beautiful way.
Well, I don't even think it's that women aren't allowed to talk about it because I don't think men talk about it either. I don't think anyone
Mm-hmm.
talks about business relationships and how hard they are to maintain and how important they are, right? I mean, our partnership is so important to both of us. And we have ups and downs, and we have to get into it a lot because we're dealing in the trenches every day. And I think that, part of listening to her was just enlightening for us. I mean, I think she was so honest about how hard it is and how awesome it is and how lucky you are to have someone that you work so closely with that you love. And I was just really inspired by just the way she talked about it. It was really funny. There was one story, I can't remember which one, but I was like, oh my God, I'm so the Misty in this, and Amy is so the Kerri. I think it was when she won, and then she like whispered in that woman's ear, like, okay, it's you and I in 4 years. I was like, oh my God, Amy would do that to me, and I'd be weeping in the corner.
She had stepped out. She was done.
But it would still make me weep. That's the thing, is Misty had stepped out, but it still made her sad. I would be the Misty. Anyway, I love Kerri, and I definitely want to have her back.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to What's Her Story with Sam and Amy.
We would appreciate it if you leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, connect with us on social media at What's Her Story Podcast.
What's Her Story with Sam and Amy is powered by my company, The Riveter, at theriveter.co, and Sam's company, Park Place Payments, at parkplacepayments.com.
Thanks to our producer, Stacey Para, and our male perspective, Lou Burns.